This is the Atari 8-bit podcast.
Just the fact that we have an Atari that was never designed to be on the internet, okay? Never designed to be on the internet. On the internet. Anybody who has an XE keyboard, sooner or later is going to have a keyboard failure. At least that's been my run-in with them.
I'm Kevin Savitz, and this is an interview episode of Antic, the Atari 8-bit podcast. Steve Carden maintains RealDOS, which is a free command-line DOS that's multiplexer capable and still being actively maintained to work with modern Atari hardware. He also works on a variety of hardware products, some of which are available to Atari hobbyists, some of which aren't. Steve also helped take over maintenance of BBS Express from Keith Ledbetter. This interview took place February 27, 2015.
How did you get started with Atari 8-bits?
Interestingly enough, a friend of mine had an old 800, and I played with it a time or two when I was at his house. And then what really got me involved in it was a car accident and a ton of downtime.
Mm-hmm.
I just basically needed something to occupy my time.
Sure. Around what year are we talking here?
Oh, my goodness, this was 1982.
Mm-hmm.
Long time ago.
Sure. So you had a car accident, you're sitting around, and that's how you started to play with the 800?
No, actually, I was coming in from work, and I got knocked 170-something feet while I was waiting for a traffic light to change.
Yikes.
Yeah, it was pretty devastating. I mean, I still feel it. That's been a lot of years ago. Well, with that, my buddy said, well, why don't you play around on the computer? I find myself working on it, and the next thing I know, it's 2 o'clock in the morning. And he was right.
Yeah.
You know, you get interested in reading things or trying different things or typing in programs from magazines. Time flies.
I'm familiar with that. So I know that you created, back in the day, you created BBS Express and RealDOS. Which of those came first?
Well, actually, I didn't create BBS Express. The original creator of BBS Express was a fellow by the name of Keith Ledbetter and his sidekick, Chris King.
Okay.
I was basically a user of it, and I had written a program, and he liked it a lot, and he reached out to me. Mm-hmm. And from then, we just became fast friends. So when he went from BBS Express, I think it was the 830 or 850 version. Mm-hmm. It was a version that would do 9600 baud to BBS Express Professional. He was hoping that he was going to sell 10,000 copies of it. He didn't.
Yeah.
So he pretty much got out of it at that point in time. I think it was 850 Express. Anyway, that particular version, he sold 10,000 copies of it. You know, the $39 or $49 it cost a copy back in the 80s was a fair amount of pocket change.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I had also been speaking with a fellow by the name of Bob Claus, and we decided to go into it and buy it, and we did. Mm-hmm. At which time I took up all the programming of it, but I really wasn't that interested in selling it or collecting the money for it or anything like that, so I let Bob handle that. I just kept it up to date.
So what kind of additions or changes did you make to it?
Well, we started out with revision 3, which was an ANC version of it. Keith's last version was 2.1a. And after that, versions, subsequently 3, 4, and 5X were all mine. Mm-hmm. And we put an ANSI core in it, which basically stripped out the 6 characters from the ANSI graphics and drove those to the modem and drove a character to the Atari that was as close to it as we could, or just simply ate the character. And then we did a batch download, and then we did some stuff with file mail, which was written by a friend of mine, where files could be transferred around along with the networking of email of regular messages. We did, send files, and we were also able to send files to, actually updates and stuff I was able to send out that way. It was kind of a cool thing, the way it worked.
Cool.
So it was a lot of fun. I mean, it was a real tight-knit community. Out of it, we probably had 300 sysops that were fairly active, and then probably another 200 to 300 that just bought it. It was either too complex for them to set up, or they just wanted to have a copy of it, the old collector side of the house. So that went on and on and on until I didn't agree with what Bob Claus was doing, which he'd set up business with Mike Holman, and I didn't like what was going on, so I parted company. And along with that, after that, pretty much started with RealDOS, because one of the other versions to BBS Express Professional that I did was a multi-node port, which would allow up to 8 nodes of a particular number, of a node number, to all be online simultaneously and even have chat between them. It's really, I'm still fascinated to this day how it works, and that it does work. Because anybody who studies the 8-bit knows it's more or less a single thread in how it works. But the way that the MUX master code was revised by myself and another fellow that I know, we have it where it can simultaneously do operations. Basically, one computer will wait until a particular operation is free and it can do it. And with the lag on BBS lines, even up to 19.2 and higher, it's really not noticeable, or it's not aggravating to the person using it. They just consider that it's going out and doing a fetch of some kind.
So just basically, you could have an 8-line BBS running on 8 Ataris?
Oh, that's a fact.
Yeah.
Actually, it was 9. You had to have a multiplexer master. We'll just back up a little bit.
Kind of a coordination machine?
One of the really, really neat sleeper pieces of hardware that came out in around 1990 or a little after, I don't remember the exact year, is Bob Puff, and he and I had numerous conversations over the years, was the Atari multiplexer, which would allow you to have a master Atari that would basically have your hard disk and stuff like this, and then you could have up to 8 slaves that could boot off of the master's hard disk or RAM drive and go through that way. And it was really a phenomenal piece of hardware that he designed, and that was one of the great big major leaps. But yes, you could have up to 8 answering nodes. I don't know of anybody who did it because phone lines back then was rather expensive, but the technology was there for 8. And for a while, I actually had 8 computers up and running to see that it would work.
Wow.
It's kind of one of my pet projects now. As I enjoy retirement life, I've been trying to get enough computers up and running to bring all 8 lines onto the internet, or more likely, realistically, 6. Just to prove I can.
That'd be awesome. So you're working on I don't know if you want to talk about this, an IP system where you're going to run a BBS that will be available over TCP/IP running on real Ataris. That's a multi-line system.
Well, the version that I have up for myself, and I have another friend who's running it, is called TCP/IP Express. I do not know whether I'm going to commercially sell it or not. It requires a tremendous investment in equipment And quite frankly, I don't have the time for a person to want to set up a single node of it and ask a whole bunch of questions. It would have, it's kind of one of those all-ins on a poker game. Either you're going to go all in or you're not going to play.
Right.
So whether it's going to be sold or not is, I haven't made up my mind.
Okay.
It is fun to play with. Just the fact that we have an Atari that was never designed to be on the Internet, okay? Never designed to be on the Internet. And that's actually through a piece of equipment that Lantronix makes, and I'm going to go ahead and spell out the website in case there's folks out there that might be interested in it. They're kind of expensive hardware, but it amounts to being a serial to Ethernet server that has modem commands. I'm going to repeat this. It has modem commands. In other words, you can do an AT-DT to an IP address, and it will place that call, or to an IP address and to a port address off that IP address. So these are some real remarkable pieces of equipment, and they're a serial Ethernet server, and the company that I use, and there's several of them out there, is called Lantronix, and that's LANTRONIX.com. You want to look for their external serial to Ethernet servers, and they're just remarkable pieces of equipment. And, somebody really had their thinking hat on to bring equipment that wasn't designed to be on the Internet.
Sure, yeah. Well, cool. Even if you don't make it a product, that's a super interesting project is to try to make that happen.
Well, a lot of people might find it interesting that there are real Atari BBSs out there utilizing these devices, and there's another device out there that's SIO to PC that's put out by Steve Tucker and his 8 software that allows you to place phone calls from your Atari through your PC and then on out to the Internet. And not everybody wants to tie up a PC all the time.
Sure.
I'm one of them. But the equipment does exist, so you can bring up your favorite Bob term, and if you go out on Atari 8, you'll see a section from different BBSs that really are truly on the Internet. Right now, I don't have my equipment up because my wife put her foot down and I had to clean my office before I could make the changes that I wanted. So that's where I'm at.
So let's talk about RealDOS. When did you create it, and why? And why did Atari need yet another DOS? And tell me about that.
Well, the Atari itself probably didn't need another DOS, but a multiplexer would not function with just any kind of DOS. And at the time, it would function with MyDOS itself. And MyDOS, and for anybody who's a SpartaDOS fan, they're just two different things. One's a command line, one's a menu-driven, and the people that do command line typically want to stay that way, and the menu-driven want to stay that way. Mm-hmm. So whatever DOS is your flavor, there are two DOSes out there for the multiplexer, one of which is MyDOS, the latest version, and RealDOS is, interestingly enough, I gave a copy. I'm going to get off on a side tangent here for a second. I gave a basic multiplexer to the guys that did the new version of SpartaDOS X, the cartridge version that they revised. So now it's also multiplexer capable. And of course, RealDOS is out there and is multiplexer capable. And basically, RealDOS came out of a divide in the SpartaDOS world. The person that owned SpartaDOS at the time was a fellow with Michael Holman, which I don't believe in his business practices. Unfortunately, he's not doing that anymore. So I did my own rather than revise SpartaDOS. And RealDOS has since expanded with all this wonderful hardware that's been created mainly by the Europeans since 2000. I try to keep RealDOS, hence its name, Real, up with the real updates. And that's kind of how it came about.
Awesome. Okay. And it's something you're still keeping it up to date with as new products?
I'm actually working on a revision right now. I had to set my computer down to make this call.
Sorry.
Hey, such is life.
That's a commercial product?
No, I give it away.
Awesome.
There have been a few people over the years that have registered it with me and were kind enough to send shareware fees in, but since I'm medically retired, I personally sell nothing.
Right. Understood.
So if
you're an Atari user today, why would you choose? Why would one choose RealDOS? Assuming you're not someone using a multiplexer, why would I choose RealDOS over, I don't know, my DOS or SpartaDOS?
Well, you're kind of asking a person why would they choose one car over another. Picking which DOS you want to use is very much kind of personal thing. People have to feel around and what works best for them.
Sure.
And I have no. I don't think my DOS, that RealDOS is the super bestest thing out there. Okay, it is for me, but it may not be for somebody else. Certainly with the multiplexer, it's the most flexible, as well as other hardware. For instance, the SIO to PC products that Steve Tucker did, I have commands such as make ATR, that you can also format an ATR that's on your PC. You can make it any size you want, from 4 sectors to 65, 35, single or double density. So I have kept up with the new hardware. And that's really where I spend 90% of my time with RealDOS, is with the new hardware, seeing that it does work. It's been quite tasky at times, but fortunately the Europeans have been really kind to me, giving me insider information on how to work with different things. They've been really, really good to me. And subsequently that pans out to the rest of the Atari world.
And you make some hardware too, correct?
We got a few things that are going. A friend of mine did a thing that's called a KRH that him and my wife sell. The KRH is keyboard replacement project. It came out as a replacement for the AKI. Now, I own 2 AKIs, and it was the AKI's hardware and subsequently firmware that was put on the PIC was great if you did German, but if you did the European side of it, there were errors in it. Particularly one of the quickest errors that I can think of is the period that was on the keypad. It comes out as a comma. Little things like that. So I redid that software to where it was had all those little glitches corrected.
So this is a gadget that lets you hook a USB keyboard up to type on your 8-bit, correct?
No, what this does is actually we have 2 versions. The second version is in beta test right now. The first version, you pull your your Pokey chip out of your 130 or your 800 XL, and you plug in this little daughter board that your Pokey plugs back into, and it allows for the use of your Atari keyboard or a DIN 5 or a PS2 keyboard. The newer version that we're working on will function with some some USB keyboards.
Okay.
And these are keyboards that do not require a driver link between the computer and the keyboard. Okay? I wanted to make it where wireless keyboards would work, and I haven't been able to crack that shell yet, which is kind of where it's in beta test. I'm running out of space in the PIC processor, and I don't know that we're going to be able to make that happen, but we're trying. But the newer version will function with some USB keyboards. It also functions with DIN 5 and PS2 keyboards. But the main thing for it is it was designed to work with the stereo pokey upgrade that the guys in Europe, I'm not sure where the stereo pokey came out at, but anyway, it's a very popular upgrade.
Mm-hmm.
So instead of coming out with another stereo pokey and wedging the keyboard device in it, we went back to the drawing board, and basically we piggyback it to the underside of the board. There's like 6 connections that have to be made to the pokey chip, and then 4 other connections, 1 for start, select, and reset, and then, of course, the 4 pins that go out to the keyboard. And that gets soldered to the underside of it, and that seems to work really, really well. At least it does with my stereo pokey.
Cool.
So I'm still using a prototype. We actually haven't had boards made for that yet, but the guy that does all the board design has got it catted up. We just haven't sprung for it yet.
So the first version of the keyboard interface is available, though, correct?
Yeah, I think we have.
What's that cost?
It's called a KRH. It's up on the website. That's http://www.realdos.net.
Okay.
And we still have some of them for sale. I mean, we're not sold out, and I hope to never be sold out, to tell you the truth, because anybody who has an XE keyboard, sooner or later, is going to have a keyboard failure. At least that's been my run-in with them.
Yeah.
The console keys go out first, or one of the other keys go out, and this is a way to get a little extra life out of it.
So it looks like it's $40 plus shipping. And,
and unfortunately, shipping to Europe is unbelievably expensive. And I don't know why, but it is. If you're a European customer right now, for me to mail anything from, say, Europe to Poland costs me $24.75. It sucks, but that's what it is.
Yep. Yeah.
I'm hoping that I can link up with one of the people that have kind of the same thought process that I do, that I don't mind providing hardware as long as I can break even on it, because I don't sell this stuff.
Right.
But I have to break even. I can't be subsidizing other people's computer hobby.
Sure. So I'm looking at what other hardware you have. It looks like you used to sell the Mux board you were talking about, but you don't do that anymore.
We're currently out of Muxers. We're going to do another board run of those two. I've gotten enough calls and enough desire to do another board run, and we just haven't done that yet.
Okay.
But that's going to more than likely happen within the next quarter.
Awesome. And then you can hook up, share. I don't even know how to explain it. I'm trying to read it here.
All right. Well, let me see if I can help you out. Okay. The multiplexer master shares disk space and, interestingly enough, a printer. It does not share the R port. Okay?
Okay.
So you can have a slave out there running with your 850 or your PRC or your other R-type device, Arbiter and a couple of other ones that I can think of, that can go out to it, but they can make calls to the Mux Master to boot off from it and to talk back and forth with BBS software or other programs. Right now, I'm only aware of the BBS software being written to multitask between slaves, but it certainly could be done with other systems, other software products.
Sure.
But that's what they share. I have the big thing that people think that they can have 8 computers sharing one R port on a Mux Master, and basically on the Mux Master the R port goes dead. It's not used.
Okay.
But it's really interesting, and especially since I've basically given a multiplexer away to all these people in Europe that are doing some of this cool hardware, especially across the PVI bus. The multiplexer will work with the Ultimate 1 meg inside 2 cartridge, all the SIO2 devices, 2 IDE, 2 SD, 2 PC, and 2 USB, all will function with the muxer.
Neat. Do you offer any other hardware products?
Well, we have another one that we're kicking around, but it's been kind of kicking our butt. So I don't want a ton of emails on this.
Okay.
We're currently, and the reason why it's kicking our butts is I have one working here, and we haven't been able to make a second one. Go figure that one out. But we have an SIO device that attaches directly to Ethernet. It becomes a modem. It's not meant to go out there and grab web pages and stuff. But it's meant to be a connection between the Atari 8-bit and the BBSs that were out there. And unfortunately, that's a very, very small market right now.
Sure.
But on the techno side of it, I've certainly scratched my head more than once at it, and so has my buddy. But I think sooner or later we'll get the second one built, and of course the hard product there is it's easy for a person to build a one-off hardware upgrade. Okay, they're done all the time. They make for great articles in the magazines. But getting something from being a one-off to something that can be commercially produced and commercially brought out to the rest of the masses is the real beast in the process.
Yeah.
It's not easy and it's not fun. Currently, I've been involved in the Mega Speedy project as a beta tester, and I also have his information up on the website as a courtesy to him. And he'll tell you that the hardware side of it has been the easiest part of it, but getting it to something that can be packed up and put in the mail and sent off to a customer and have them put it in and work 99.9% of the time is the real heart and aggravation to a project. Then again, the cost of shipping something. His product is going to cost probably 15 to 20 euros to ship to the U.S. per copy. And there's some other hardware projects that they're just dreamware right now. There's stuff that we're dreaming about, but that's it. We haven't even really scratched anything on paper. Except one. I have what's called a Smart OS, and I think I have some information about it up on my website. But basically, a Smart OS is a 32K by 8 SRAM that's been put in a battery backed up socket or powered by a DS1210 chip, which devolatilizes it, makes it function as an EEPROM. Okay. And with this, I'm able to load any operating system that I want from a binary file. If I want, I can go in and change a single byte or as much of it as I want and recalculate the CRCs that are at the front and back end of a proper OS and go from there, which
nice.
If I wanted to change the font, for instance, it's something very easily done. And so the Smart OS is something we've been kicking around with, and the real thing is with that and the battery backed up RAM disk, which there's plans for up on the website. I don't offer it commercially because it's just too doggone easy to build. I mean, somebody can sit down with the plans and build it in an afternoon and have fun putting it together.
Easy for you. I could probably spend a week on it and just destroy equipment, but awesome.
It's a very easy upgrade. With that, I'd only impress one warning, and this is to anybody who has an Atari XE series computer. If you don't know how to solder, keep your hands out of it. All you'll do is break your machine. The solder traces that the board house did originally and the adhesive that holds those traces down is not very robust. They lift easily. In other words, you can lift a trace, and that project that you're all excited about turns into a nightmare in just a fraction of a second. So you basically need some really, really good soldering equipment to work on an XE line computer. And I don't really mention the XLs much because Atari had the forethought of putting most of them in sockets. Mm-hmm. The XE line is not, the XL line is. Mm-hmm. So XLs are wonderful machines to do upgrades in because you typically have to do very little soldering with.
Yeah.
But the XEs is a horse of another color. So
good to know.
If you got an XE and you want to do an upgrade and you do not, if you are not professional at soldering, get one of your buddies in your local Atari club to do it for you. You'll save yourself a lot of headache.
Good to know. So the plans for doing that, the operating system swap out upgrade thing is something you make available on your website for free?
I don't know. The Smart OS, it depends. If there's just plans for it, I'll put the plans up there and let a person build it themselves because I have no expense in it except producing the plans. If it's something that we produce a board for, then we want to cover the cost of our boards.
Well, sure.
Cover the cost of having them manufactured.
Cool.
But, our intent is to provide it at cost.
Sweet. Well, thank you for continuing to add to the hardware and software that's available for the 8-bit machines. The community appreciates it.
I would probably just do it for myself, but, one of the things that's really wonderful is if you stop and look at the Atari community, during the 1980s and mid-1990s, the Atari community was pretty much limited to the United States and Canada, as far as the people in the U.S. is concerned. Now, the Atari community is literally worldwide. A lot of really good stuff coming out of Europe. Poland has had a lot of really nice hardware designed and made available. And not just them, it's the other countries as well. A lot of cool software. So get on your browser on your PC and hunt for the different things that are out there. There's a lot of cool stuff there. A lot of hours of enjoyment. Now, of course, you can do things for the Atari, like program easily for it. It's not so easy with different operating systems.
Right, that's true. All right, what else should I ask you that we haven't talked about yet before we finish up?
Just don't give up on your Atari, or if you happen to listen to this, drag your Atari out of your closet. You'll find that there's still many, many hours of enjoyment, especially since there's the new interface stuff, the SIO to PC. There's several different versions of it. I've mentioned Steve Tucker's, and I'm kind of fond of his, but there are others that are out there. So some that are free, some that you have to buy the hardware and the software is free and used for Linux, for Windows. I don't know if there's anything available for the Mac or not. Probably is, but I don't know that for certain.
Yeah, there's some Mac stuff. Yeah.
Now that I didn't know. But drag your Atari out of the closet. You'll find that there's more fun there than you'll ever realize, especially since you don't have to deal with antivirus software every time you turn it on.
True.
Which is my biggest bone to pick with the PC. 60% of my processor time is for antivirus software. That's just me.
Yeah. Awesome. All right. I guess that's about it. Thank you very much. I'm glad that we managed to get together for an interview.
I am too, Kevin. I wasn't too sure about this to start off with, but I appreciate the opportunity to talk with you. I've enjoyed it.
I've enjoyed it too, and I'll let you know when this is online, and I hope we'll send some people to your site to download RealDOS and check out your hardware stuff.
All righty. Well, you take care of yourself.
If you enjoy these interviews and would like to contribute something, I encourage you instead to donate to one of our favorite organizations, the Internet Archive, at archive.org. The Internet Archive is a nonprofit digital library with the stated mission of universal access to all knowledge. They've done incredible things to preserve computer history, including hosting thousands of programs in an in-browser Atari emulator, creating the Wayback Machine, and offering full-page scans of countless Atari computer books and magazines. Make your tax-deductible contribution at archive.org/donate.